Let's talk about Christian morality. If you ask a Christian, is it wrong to murder a child? They'll quickly say yes. But if you ask if it's wrong to murder a child if Yahweh tells you to do it, they'll say no. You'll get the same answer if you ask about theft, slavery, and yes, even abortion and homosexuality. That's right. Christians will admit that you can have an abortion or be a practicing homosexual if Yahweh tells you to. Now, I haven't asked them, but I know that they condone murder and theft and slavery if Yahweh requires them or approves of them. So surely they would accept abortion and homosexuality if they were approved by Yahweh. That's because Christians have no moral standards. Oh, they go on like they do, and especially when it comes to abortion and homosexuality. I honestly think it would kill their souls to have to admit that those two things would be okay with them if Yahweh said to do them. But they would grit their teeth and admit it, because what Yahweh says goes. Christians can't really condemn anything at all because their God has at one time or another approved of pretty much everything they consider sin. Even abortion, by the way. And their God never changes. All they can define as wrong or evil or sin is what Yahweh says at any given time. Today, murdering a child might be evil, but tomorrow it won't necessarily be evil. Or murdering a specific child might be evil, while murdering another is not. For instance, it would have been bad if Abraham had actually murdered Isaac. That's why Yahweh provided a ram for the sacrifice. Murdering Isaac in obedience to Yahweh couldn't happen. But murdering other children in obedience to Yahweh is cool. In fact, the whole city of Jericho was sacrificed to Yahweh. Joshua 6:17-21 says, "And the town will be put to the curse, and everything in it will be given to the Lord." And they put everything in the town to the curse, men and women, young and old, ox and sheep and ass, they put to death without mercy. That's the Bible in basic English. Young's literal translation says that all those murdered babies and grown-ups were devoted to Yahweh. So do the ESV, NIV, RSV, ASV, and WEB. The New Living Translation says these precious babies were an offering to the Lord. The wording seems to convey something set apart as sacred, devoted, or dedicated. It's the same word used in Leviticus 27:28-29, where we read that anything or any person devoted to Yahweh must be put to death. The person must be sacrificed to Yahweh. So the Joshua passage is basically saying that everything and everybody in Jericho was given to Yahweh. When you give something or someone to Yahweh, what do? You sacrifice it. The people of Jericho were sacrificial offerings to Yahweh, and it pleased him to receive all these humans as they died for him. And we have children singing Joshua fought the battle of Jericho without even thinking about the bloody slaughter of innocent babies and unborn babies that these people callously brought about, because those babies were just so evil. Or hey, maybe it's murdering your own child that's evil, but murdering the children of your enemies is not. On the other hand, Yahweh murdered his own child, so that can't be it. It all boils down to whatever floats Yahweh's boat on any particular day. If he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed, it might be okay to kill a few babies. However, if he wakes up feeling good, he might even let a man have sex with his boyfriend. You never know. And while the homosexual part might irk Christians, Yes, they would hold their nose and be okay with that too. Yahweh's their God, so he can do what he wants. Right or wrong, it's right to them if he does it or tells them to do it. That's why they'll happily shovel the coal to burn your hide. You just never know what Yahweh will do. His thinking is highly mutable. He's like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed, or a reed shaken with the wind, or maybe like children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine. Christianity is a bloody cult. It's a cult of human sacrifice. It began in violence, and it will supposedly end in violence. We see this throughout the Bible. The other day I read the following passage, and it made me sick to my stomach. John 6:53 through 56 from the WEB. Jesus therefore said to them, Most assuredly I tell you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you don't have life in yourselves. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is food indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood lives in me, and I in him. That is absolutely gross. What are we eating? His nose? His toes? His penis? Oh, I don't want to hear that I'm being sacrilegious here. That's what Jesus said, eat me. It actually sounds like some kind of pagan ritual, doesn't it? It sounds like witchcraft. Murder an innocent virgin, soak yourself in his blood, eat his loins, and you will have eternal life. It sounds like something from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. If Christians saw this in any other religion, they would be repulsed by it. The murder of an innocent, the sacrifice of an innocent in order to gain something for others is in itself wicked. When I first left Christianity and joined groups on Facebook with others who had left, I noticed that many people had deconverted because of Yahweh's evil ways. His behavior was a stumbling block to them. He ought to have a millstone tied around his neck and be thrown into the depths of the sea. Anyway, I thought to myself that those people would go back to Christianity. I thought they hadn't thought it through and they'd therefore backslide. I mean, I always knew Yahweh was evil. What difference did that make? He was, I thought, the Creator, and I had to worship him. But then one day I got an email from a friend who said something like, even if Yahweh is evil, shouldn't you serve him anyway? I mean, he'll reward you if you do and punish you if you don't. And of course, that was what I'd been doing. For most of my life, it's what I had been doing. But I hadn't really put it into words. And seeing it on my computer screen, all spelled out like that, it was sickening. It's icky to think of worshiping someone because of what it can give you, or so he won't punish you. But Christians try to make it sound good and loving and beautiful. When you feel compelled to bow down to a monster, you figure out a way to make it reasonable in your own head. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Someone suggested that I put a lot of bloody pictures in this video. Well, I don't know how to do that. But I'm begging you, listen to the words in the book you adore. Look at them with a critical eye. Judge Yahweh with the same judgment that you judge lesser beings. He at least ought to live up to human moral standards. I realize now that Yahweh's evil behavior is probably the best reason not to worship him. I was the one who hadn't thought it through. Yahweh is an unstable maniac, telling people to love their enemies on Sunday and murder them on Monday, not to shed innocent blood on Tuesday and to kill babies on Wednesday, to treat strangers like those born in their own land on Thursday and to enslave them on Friday. I want you to listen to this. This is Leviticus 25, 45 through 46 from the WEB. Moreover, of the children of the strangers who sojourn among you, of them you may buy and of their families who are with you, which they have conceived in your land, and they will be your property. You may make them an inheritance for your children after you, to hold for a possession. Of them may you take your slaves forever. But over your brothers, the children of Israel, you shall not rule one over another with harshness. But now look at this. Leviticus 19:34. The stranger who lives as a foreigner with you shall be to you as a native born among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you lived as foreigners in the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh your God. I looked up the word sojourn in blueletterbible.org. It said the word means to dwell or inhabit or remain. And we know from the passage which says the strangers have conceived children in the land of Israel who could be bought by the Israelites, that these strangers weren't just passing through. They lived with the Israelites. So Yahweh's people were to treat strangers dwelling among them as though they were native born and love them. However, they could treat them like property and rule harshly over them, although they couldn't do that to the native born. Imagine if you decided to go to Iceland and sojourn there for a few years. And imagine you had a baby, and your neighbor came over and said, "Hey, Odin says I can buy your child. How much you want for her?" Maybe you would have the choice not to sell, I don't know. But knowing the ancient Israelites, they'd steal your child if they really wanted her, and maybe give her as a wife to their son. They've been known to lie in wait and grab women when they couldn't find women among themselves to marry. Listen, it's no wonder Christians are confused about morality. They have to follow Yahweh, and following him is impossible because he contradicts himself from one passage of the Bible to the next. And he's evil. Yahweh's a pure mess. Thankfully, his thoughts are not my thoughts. Not anymore, anyway. And praise reason and decency for that. Thank you for watching. Bye.